What is good, guys? It's Rey-Jay back with another video. And in this one, I want to break down what's happening with SPY, Tesla, Nvidia, the QQQ, and a couple of other tickers. I'm going to break down some very important developments in the markets, what's happening with the economic calendar, what you should be watching for as time progresses. But before I break down most information, before I get into any more details, let me just mention a couple of things. I am personally not a financial planner, so take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out the Webull link, which is down below and in the description. If you sign up for Webull and deposit $500, you are guaranteed 20 free stocks. You deposit $25,000 or more, you're guaranteed 75 of them, and the offer ends very soon in just a couple of weeks. Anyways, for the market, as you guys can see, SPY and the QQQ are breaking all-time highs. They're pumping very, very strongly, and they're holding up well so far. Even as I speak, SPY is continuing to hold up above 535, showing lots and lots of strength. So the question is, what's going to happen to the market moving forward? We have some data to be discussing before I break down more details, but right now, charts do remain bullish. So tomorrow is going to be Thursday, June 6th, 2024. 1 hour before the market opens, we have the exports and imports data, not to mention initial jobless claims and continuing jobless claims. So look for some volatility an hour before market open. I'll give you guys an update on how the data looks. And then 2 hours after the market opens at 11:30 a.m., we have the 4-week and 8-week bill auctions coming out. This will be very important to understand at least how things are looking, and it's going to cause a bigger move in the markets, my personal opinion. So watch for some volatility at these times. And then tomorrow, not tomorrow, the day after tomorrow on Friday, we also have the unemployment numbers coming out. That's going to be very important. So Friday will be a very, very important data day. Tomorrow's not as crazy, but there is some important data in the morning. Besides that, for earnings, we just have Nio, Big Lots, and a few other retail announcing earnings for Thursday. And then after the market closes, we have DocuSign and such. So before market opens, when we have Nio and others, then we have DocuSign and a few others after market close. And that's pretty much it. Very minor earnings, nothing too crazy. Now for the markets right now, I want to make it very clear that the fear and greed index is currently at neutral. We were in the fear area. Now we're just kind of shifting this way. And you guys can see how this is affecting things. For market momentum, right now things are at extreme greed. Greed is making up the majority of sentiment, and it's causing a big shift in the way things are moving. Greed is what's kind of dictating this market. The puts and call option positioning is currently greedy, as we're starting to see this dip a little bit because of the fact that puts are being closed. We're seeing delta hedging going on, and we're starting to see a lot of shares being bought to hedge. So that's what's pushing the market higher, causing this squeeze, and the squeeze is continuing to hurt these shorts as the ratios are shifting. So that's why the market's pumping more. And then as a result of the momentum, we're starting to see a big shift in the VIX. The VIX reached the 50 daily moving average, rejecting right, right over here. And then we also have a gap to fill in the VIX that suggests that there's more upside coming for the markets. So far, things are holding up very well. The last thing I want to do before I start talking about the charts is kind of give you guys a recap of my videos. I want to make it very clear that 11 days ago to 12 days ago, I was talking about how there's going to be a pullback coming in the markets. That was actually right around this phase right here when we were looking at how the market was moving towards the closer to the last week of May. And then, as you guys could see, I was just talking about rejections, watch this peak, pullbacks, and such. I was giving you guys warnings and warnings and warnings about that until about 6 days ago. I was talking about how there's a bottom forming in the markets. I was talking about how we have to get very ready. And then I talked about how for last Friday, that's when I was expecting a big bounce. And since then, I remained bullish, talking about a squeeze next week, continuation, buying opportunities, and such. So what did the market do? The market dumped when I was bearish. And then starting last Friday, we were correct actually about the market dumping. That's when I was very bearish in the markets. And then when I turned bullish, I said that there's a bottom forming. I said this last Thursday. I was talking about how for Friday the bottom is going to form. I thought we would bounce off 521 on SPY. We actually went a little bit lower to 518 before the bounce came. And I talked about how we had the squeeze coming, and I just continued to remain bullish from that point on. I just kept talking about how we're bullish since last Friday. Since last Friday, what happened? SPY went from 521 to 518, that support right there, all the way up to new all-time highs. We were talking about this for quite some time. I even predicted new all-time highs would come. And now you guys can see that played out very nicely. So I just want to make it clear that I'm a human being. I could be wrong too. There are times I make mistakes, but for the last 2 to 3 weeks, I've been spot on my predictions on SPY about how this would see a big bounce, and that's what happened so far. So now the question is, what's going to happen from here? As of right now, SPY is holding up very, very well. We're actually continuing to pump. There's no sign of us kind of losing our grip right now. So I'll be watching this 536 resistance. We also have support at 534. If we lose that, we'll be dipping down to 532.5 and very close to where our 20 EMA happens to be. But for now, we're still pushing up. I'll be watching this 535 resistance. It's a very, very key level. and we'll have to wait and see what the reaction is from here. We're still very, very bullish looking at new all-time highs. So we'll watch this very carefully. We actually did do exactly what we predicted this entire time, breaking all-time highs, but now we're at some tough resistance at 525, and I'll be watching to see how things go. If we break through this, watch 536. If you reject here, I'll be watching 534 all over again. If we lose that, we could be dipping back down to 532.5. As of right now, the chart is pushing. It's still holding up very well. So I personally think we might actually kind of pop it a little bit more than shuffle for some time and see some sideways price action for a bit before we try to see the next leg either up or down. But look for some sideways price action, and we'll see how we end up reacting to these levels. That's going to be key. Now, unlike SPY, Nvidia is still pumping like crazy. We actually went past my target of 1225. We're going to be looking at this to get very close to 1250. So maybe the market pumps a bit more, but watch to see what happens once we hit that resistance. We could get a rejection very close between 1240 to 1250 around that area. So that's when we get closer to the 50s in this 1200 area. We could pump a little bit more and watch to see if we get a rejection, but I do anticipate that as the most likely possibility. If we break past 1250, we remain bullish. If we end up getting a rejection, we lose 1225, we could be dipping. My guts tells me we pump a little bit more, then we come back down. For Bitcoin, technicals still look more bullish overall, and there is more upside potential in my personal opinion. If we continue to pump, we could be approaching this high close to 72,000. We have support at 71,000 flat. If we lose that, we could be dipping. But in my personal opinion, with this liquidity grab, we could just continue to pump from here. In my personal opinion, I think 71,500 is a good target. I think there's a good chance we continue to push. So that's looking more probable in my personal opinion. For Tesla, unfortunately is not really doing much. If you look at the share price, let me just pull up the 4-hour. You guys can see that Tesla's not really doing much. It's just completely range bound, going back and forth and back and forth. So what's going on with Tesla is we've been stuck in this tight range, back and forth price action. We did have a little dip today, but Tesla got bought back up with the markets. So we will see how well it holds up. If Tesla closes below 173 in the next few days, we could see a little dip on Tesla back down to about the 168 to 170 area before it tries to bounce again. And if we break past 176 and start pushing higher, there is a chance it's going to try to bounce. The last couple of days have shown weakness. Since Monday, it's been actually kind of downtrending a bit. So there's a little bit more weakness on the chart, at least for now, for a little dip, making it seem a little bit more probable. But even if we get a dip, so just hear me out, the dip is short term. Medium term is still bullish looking the setup. So we could just be dipping for a buying opportunity before Tesla tries to continue to push if we were to get that dip. But for now, don't worry about a dip or a pump. We have to watch the range for confirmation. Break 180, we're bullish. Lose 173, we're bearish. As of right now, we're just stuck within this range. For other factors out there, we have the QQQ. We're continuing to remain bullish right over here. If we break past 464, we're going to be looking for a push all the way up to 466. If we end up losing support, we'll be dipping all the way down to about 462.75. So we could be looking for a dip down if we end up rejecting out 464 to hit 462.75. If we break past this, we're going to be looking for 466. With Nvidia pumping, I think we could pump a little bit more on the QQQ. Might get very close to 465 or so, but then I'd be concerned of it getting a little rejection, maybe a little pullback a bit after how much it's pumped. There's no sign of us pulling back yet, but I suspect that's what's going to happen. We pump a little bit more, but then watch and see if we get a little rejection, at least temporarily, just temporarily, For Aapl has this 196 areas resistance and then 197. We have support currently at 195 to 194.5. We're kind of stuck in that range. We are dipping a bit on Aapl, so I think 195 could be tested. So we'll see if we get a bounce or not off that area. But it is worth knowing that this could slow down, at least moving forward. So that's key for how we're moving. So that being said, that's it for the main tickers I typically talk about in more detail. Now let's talk about a few others. We have Nio stock. One thing worth noting is Nio got a little bounce. I did call this out that Nio might touch our 200 EMA and try to rebound a little bit. And that's what Nio sort of ended up doing. Now, Nio has earnings for tomorrow. Please remember that we have earnings for Nio. If Nio does very well in earnings, we're going to be looking for a big bounce and an inverse head and shoulders like structure to break out. This is going to lead Nio to pumping all the way back up to the sixes. If we don't do well in earnings and Nio loses to 200 EMA at 5.13, we'll be dipping all the way down to where this 4-hour imbalance happens to be at 4.92. So do we lose the fives and start dipping all the way down to lower levels, or do we bounce? It depends on earnings. The chart has a nice bullish pattern with an inverse head and shoulders, so it favors the upside, but just to be safe, we will wait and see. For Palantir, we're looking more bullish. We actually broke past this resistance at the 200 EMA. With that being said, I'm going to be looking at this imbalance to fill 23.25 could be coming, so it might push a little bit more. I do see potential for this to go a little higher, but then watch and see how we end up reacting from there. So we might go a little higher, but watch and see if we get some kind of rejection or not. But overall, we are still holding up quite well. Supermicro, in my opinion, is looking more bullish. If we break past and hold above 800, our next target is to be 825. If we lose 800, we'll be dipping back down towards 780. So I favor the upside. I think we could be pushing all the way up towards 725, and I favor a push even more. For Rivian, in my personal opinion, is looking more bullish. In my personal opinion, I think that there's a good chance it's going to go even higher. And I think that we could be looking for a break of that resistance there. What else is good about Rivian for the bulls is the fact that we have a nice inverse head and shoulders like structure right here. So this likely will kind of imply more upside is more probable. So I'll be looking for a push closer to about 11.62 or even higher than that. That is looking more bullish in my personal opinion. For SoFi, if SoFi breaks past 6.92, we're going to be looking for a push all the way up towards the $7 area. If you reject here, you're going to be dipping all the way down to about 6.84. But I favor the upside a bit more, and I think we're going to likely see $7 or higher coming. So I favor that a bit more. For the IWM Russell 2000, we have a nice double bottom like structure. To me, it looks like it may attempt to go a little higher. If we lose 204.14, then we could be dipping back down to 203. If we hold this and we start to push higher, our next target is going to be up to 206. The 206 area looks more probable, so I do think there's a good chance we're going to try to push up higher. For AMD, I think there's a good chance that this may continue to pump as well. In my personal opinion, so what I was initially telling you all is that we had a head and shoulders and that I could see some downside. If we lost support, though, at 158, I would turn more bearish. We held support and actually got a big bounce. So now we're back above our EMAs. And now it's actually holding up very well. So right now, let me just be very straightforward. If we get a rejection, watch 164. If we lose that, we're going to be dipping back down to this gap fell all the way down to 160. If we hold above 164, then there's potential for us to go all the way back up towards 168. I think there's a good chance that right now it actually is showing a lot of strength because of new pieces of news that came out about their new chips and such. So sometimes, pieces of news can trump technicals, and we are holding up very well. So the chart's now favoring a little bit more upside towards 168 plus, and eventually the imbalance fills all the way up here. Now, sometimes these head and shoulders are also traps. Sometimes that could happen, guys. So we just have to be open-minded about that. But this might pump a little bit more before we hit the next resistance zone. For what else is there? We have ARM. We're looking more bullish overall. I think this is easily going to be pushing up this imbalance at about 140. I think we're going to continue to pump. I told everyone that ARM might touch our 20 EMA and then try to bounce off that. And that's exactly what happened. We'll be looking for a push to 136 and eventually 140. For Coinbase, we're also pumping as we predicted. We're currently at this 250 area. 250 is holding up well. If we hold above this, we'll be looking for a push towards 258. If we reject off 250, we're going to be coming back down towards 245, but I favor upside a bit more. For Amazon, in my personal opinion, has more upside potential. If we lose 180, we're going to be dipping all the way down towards 179.62. If we break and hold above 180, we're going to be pushing all the way up towards 182. So I favor that a bit more, and I think that's a lot more probable. For Meta, we're looking more bullish overall. I think that there's a good chance this is going to likely continue to pump. If we end up rejecting over here, Meta could be coming all the way back down towards 490 as support, and then below that we have 485 and 483. However, our resistance does end up taking us all the way up to about 496. If we break through that, I think we could be going up to 500, then higher levels. What looks more probable? Looking at the bullish looking technicals, I think 500 plus is coming on Meta, so I favor more upside a bit more. For Microsoft, we're looking more bullish. We actually broke past our key EMAs. We're looking at this resistance right here at just under 424 to 425. I think we could go a little higher to 425.25. If that breaks, we go a little higher than that. So we'll see how things go. But there is upside potential in Microsoft. For Google, in my opinion, has more upside potential as well. The 4 hours looking pretty good, so I think there's a good chance this could be pushing all the way up to 178. So I favor that a bit more, and we'll see how things go from there. But that looks more bullish to me. For GME, I said that if we lost 25, I would turn bearish. If we held above 25, I would turn bullish. And I called out 32 yesterday if we did hold above 25. That's exactly where GME went to. Lo and behold. So now our support's at 27. If we hold above that, we're going to continue higher. If we lose that, there's going to be a bit of a dip risk for it, but I favor the upside right now. It's actually holding up very nicely, building a nice structure right here. So this could easily go up to 35 in my opinion, or even higher levels, as long as we hold at above 30 at the very least, and also 27 as two supports. AMC is building some nice momentum. We need to see it hold above 4.8 and also 5, but mainly 4.8. If we lose 4.8, we turn back to bearish. If we hold above it, we're going to continue to push. And this looks like it wants to go higher towards 5.37 and then even higher levels like 5.6. So this looks more bullish to me, so I favor upside a bit more. DJT is trying to rebound. You're going to be looking for a test of 47.24 to 48. It looks more bullish. The VIX is dipping. We have a gap to fall all the way down here on the VIX. Likely the market goes a little higher, causing the VIX to dip lower. So right now, the VIX is looking a little bit more bearish for now, suggesting more upside for the markets. 10-year Treasury yield is looking more bearish. This is once again indicative of more potential upside for the markets, as this has like an inverse cup and handle, and this could continue to dip. And we also have the dollar index kind of flat right now, but when you zoom out like this, you'll notice that we have a head and shoulders like structure, left shoulder here, excuse me, a left shoulder here, a head up here, and then a right shoulder. So it might retest 104.5 and then reject, and we could continue to fall in the dollar because the market remains bullish. So technicals remain bullish, guys. The market looks like it could push a little bit more at the very least, and we'll see how we end up reacting to new resistance levels. But overall, SPY is holding well, so we'll see how well we hold above 535. And so far, technicals remain bullish at the time I'm recording this video. All right, thank you for listening. Have an absolutely spectacular rest of the day, guys. I will see you guys tomorrow before the market opens. I just want to say I really appreciate you guys for your views, for your likes, and all the kind messages you guys leave below. So get ready for more potential upside in the markets, and we'll see how we end up reacting to key resistance once we get to them. All right, so we'll see how it goes. See you guys tomorrow, and peace out.